Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Samra and today I'm gonna tell you about all the books I read in the month of August. Alright, so we're gonna start with a romance book. The first book I finished in the month of August was Happy Place by Emily Henry. This came out earlier this year in April. It's 388 pages and has a rating around 4.21 last time I checked on Goodreads. Now, to tell you very briefly what this book is about, this one's about Harriet and Wynne, a couple that have been together for many years, but now they have broken up for 6 months and told nobody. None of their friends actually know these guys have broken up. They kind of can't tell them now because they're supposed to go on this yearly trip with their friends, their mutual friends, and it's kind of a special trip, so they don't want to ruin everyone's good time, so they have to keep it a secret, and they decide to get along for just 1 week so no one will find out and the trip will be over. I ended up giving this book 4.25 out of 5 stars. Let me tell you this is another great book from Emily Henry. This is just as good. It's just a bit different. You have to know what you're getting into. It took me a while to go through Happy Place, not because I didn't like it, just because it's kind of a bit of a different book. You know, I had to change gears in my head to adapt myself to the story, to actually enjoy it, and I did enjoy the book very much. There's something about Emily Henry's books that feels very real to me. I don't know if it's the generation thing or something else. I don't know if it's the human feelings, just the fact that someone across the world so far away from me can describe feelings and situations that are so relatable to me myself. That's just mind-blowing to me, and Emily Henry does that for me every time. In my opinion, the more realistic the characters and their struggles and their problems, the more realistic it gets, it's harder to wrap things up. Emily Henry can actually do that, and I really do love that about her books. I admit this book has some of the less liked tropes in the romance genre, like second chance romance or miscommunication trope. But it's not annoying at all. Don't misjudge it, because the miscommunication that's everyone talking about, it's not. Emily Henry doesn't use miscommunication as a means to drag the book, to drag the story. It's not that. We do miscommunicate with the people around us all the time. So it's a very relatable subject if it's done correctly, if it's done right, if the author is not using it just to, add more pages to the book. And Emily Henry doesn't do that. It's actually quite good how she tackles the problem. I'm one of those people who don't enjoy second chance romance or miscommunication trope at all. In fact, when I see these tropes, I turn the other way around. But because Emily Henry did it, and because I trust her, I gave it a shot, and I wasn't wrong. This was a solid success for me. And of course, the side characters, the found family vibes, they're all done very well. The characterization, I thought it was really good in this book as well. So that's another thing. If you like found family trope, this might be for you. By the way, Cleo was my favorite. I just loved her. Now, if you're looking for something with a deeper meaning and a little bit more of real life romance, this book might be for you. I really enjoyed it and I highly recommend it. Just make sure this is what you want to read. Next on the list is The Trials of Morrigan Crow, book 1 in the Nevermore series, written by Jessica Townsend. This one came out in 2017. 465 pages and it has a rating of 4.34. This story is about an 11-year-old girl. She's cursed, she escapes death, and then she's transported to this magical world, and she's there tested beyond her wildest imagination. Now, the first book, The Trials of Morrigan Crow, is about how Morrigan is facing these trials and facing these challenges to, get to the Wonder Society. I gave this book a 5-star. I was originally gonna give it 4.75 because it does take a while to get into the story at the beginning, but at the end I changed my mind and I gave it the 5 stars because I just felt like it deserved it. This book took me by surprise in a really good way. I started it wishing to, read something fun and easy and middle grade-y to kind of transport me back to my childhood. I was looking for that, I found it, and so much more. The world of Nevermore is very unique. It has been compared to Harry Potter books, and on paper some elements do sound similar, but once you read the book for yourself, once you actually experience it yourself, you realize that Nevermore is its own story. It may be about an 11-year-old child, but it feels different. It has different vibes. And of course, this is high fantasy middle grade, which is also different from Harry Potter. There are similarities. There are things that if you enjoyed Harry Potter, you might enjoy this as well. But once you start the story, you realize that it's very unique, it's very different. At least I felt like that. The characterization for a middle grade book was done really well. I really like that. Jessica Townsend does it in a way that you kind of feel connected and attached to the characters very early on. Now, Morrigan is portrayed perfectly as an 11-year-old who's cursed, who has been in a very specific circumstance, and you're gonna see. I really like the character of Morrigan. She has that unique touch. You kind of like her. And then of course we have Jupiter North, who has a very important role in the story in, getting Morrigan where she needs to be. And Jupiter is a perfect mixture of fun, carefree attitude, and a lot of mystery. There's so much we don't know about this guy, and I really love that. And there are also other characters, Hawthorne, Jack, Fenn, which will all grow on you. Honestly, the whole cast of characters do end up giving off a found family vibe, which is very enjoyable in middle grade books for me. I really loved it, so if found family is one of your favorite tropes, you might want to check this one out too. Now let's talk about the world of Nevermore. This world is full of colors. I mean, you can actually see and taste the colors while reading the book, and I really like that in books. And of course, expected from fantasy, magic is everywhere. And it's not just one brand of magic, one specific brand of magic. It's magic in different forms, in different places. You get a vast expanse of magical abilities, and it takes you by surprise every time, and it adds something to the story. I really enjoyed that part about it because it's unexpected all the time. There are also talking animals, which we call Wunimals in this world, who have their own personalities, their own characters. And magical buildings and locations. I'm not gonna tell you what building, but there's this building that's ever changing. The magic in it keeps changing all the time, and it kind of adapts itself to the occupants of that place. So if you have a room, the room will adapt itself to your personality. I really like that trope in books, and this book has it all. I mean, at least for me, whatever I like in middle grade fantasy, Nevermore has it. Oh, and of course, the very well-loved trope of magic school is also in the Nevermore series. Although in the first book, we're not actually in this school. We're getting through the trials to get to the school or to get to the society. So it might come in the future. But the vibe of these kids competing and overcoming trials, that's there. So if you read middle grade books, and if you think any of these tropes are your favorites, you might want to give Nevermore a try because this is really good. It deserves the hype. I really enjoyed it, and I will continue reading the rest of the series. This next book is a big deal. It's The Eye of the World, book 1 in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, and I can't believe I finally read this. The story of the Wheel of Time, in a very simple way, is about a chosen guy, as you expect from classic epic fantasy. It's about a chosen guy who has to face the Dark One and defeat him to save the world or destroy it in the process. Now, as you probably heard of it before, this is a very big board with a very wide cast of characters, and all the fantasy fans say that if you're into epic fantasy, you have to read The Wheel of Time. So I also agree. I think it's a must. It's very enjoyable, even though it's long and it's very slow-paced. I was very scared of reading this book because I thought it's a big commitment. It's gonna take so much time. What if I don't like it? What if I don't understand it? But oh, I'm so very happy I picked it up. I ended up giving this book a 4 stars because I have to leave room for the 5 stars. I think it's gonna get a lot better. 4 stars for epic fantasy is really good. I give ratings based on the genre, and 4 for epic fantasy is amazing. Now, The Eye of the World felt like the tip of the iceberg. You already feel that this is gonna be an unforgettable epic story with a wide world, with so many characters and so many details that I'm probably not gonna understand the first time. So you kind of have to be patient. So the story starts slow, and it took me some time to get used to the writing style, but it did not get in the way of me enjoying the story. And the very slow journeying from this place to the next destination is what I wanted from this epic fantasy. It actually felt really good. The characters are actually quite good. I know some people say some of them are a bit annoying. Not so much, because it's expected of the type of characters they are. They have to be different. And I really like the fact that we are journeying alongside these characters who know nothing of this world. They don't know what's going on, just as I don't. And it actually felt kind of nice to, get to know the world bit by bit as the characters are getting to know the world. The romances in the story are a bit classical because they're abrupt, they're come out of the blue and you didn't expect them, but that's alright. It's what I expected from classic fantasy anyway, and it doesn't bother me at all. I actually kind of liked it. All this said, at this point, I don't know enough about the world of Wheel of Time. I don't know about the detail and the history and the lore of this book, and I don't see myself qualified to have an opinion on that. I have to stick to it and see what happens next. But so far, everything's been very promising. The ending is a bit weird because, as I said, there's so much I don't know about this world, but that came out kind of alright because our main character also doesn't know what's happening. He's kind of going through it and he doesn't have a full understanding of the actions that are taking place in the story, magic-wise. The next book on the list is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This is a young adult fantasy novel. It came out in 2008. It's 312 pages and it has a rating of 4.15, I think. The story of The Graveyard Book is about this boy called Nobody Owens, bought for sure, who's adopted and raised by the supernatural occupants of this graveyard after his family is brutally murdered. I ended up giving this book a 4.5 stars, and that's not what I expected at all. I started reading this book really liking it at first, but then at some parts it started slowing down a bit for me. It's that kind of episodic book where we're jumping over specific times, for Bot to get older, and at some part things were slower and I didn't know where exactly we were going with the storyline. I pushed through, and a few pages after, my interest was piqued again and it got better and better and better to the point that I was sure this is gonna be a favorite, a solid favorite. Now, there's a specific magic in Gaiman's style of storytelling. It's kind of an unlikely mixture of sweet and creepy, of happy and disturbingly heart-wrenching. And most importantly to me, this is fantasy, but at times it felt indisputably real. That kind of took me by surprise because The Graveyard Book was introduced to me as children's literature or young adult fantasy novel. I didn't expect it to be so bittersweet and so sad at times, and I actually loved it. It made me love this book so much harder. This is a short and very readable book, and I think it does have a certain type of audience, adult or children, it doesn't matter. If you're that type of person, you will end up really loving this book. The story of The Graveyard Book happens amongst the dead, as you kind of expect it to, but somehow, in a very incredible way, it's all about wanting to live. I was really shocked by Neil Gaiman's writing style. I didn't know I was gonna end up loving it this much. At first, I thought it's an okay kind of book, but by the end, I'm in. I'm gonna read whatever other Neil Gaiman books I have on my TBR and, probably find more favorites. And now for the last part of this wrap-up, I want to talk about the manga One Piece. I read volume 7, 8, and 9 in the month of August. Now, I ended up giving volume 7 3.5 stars. I know it's a bit low because the fight with Don Creek was getting too long, and Zoro wasn't there, Usopp wasn't there, Nami wasn't there, and we have Luffy and Sanji getting beaten up, and I really hated that. It was starting to feel a bit too much. I was feeling the pressure. So 3.5 for volume 7. Next, I read volume 8. This one picked back up. I gave this 4 stars. In volume 8, the fight with Don Creek is finally getting wrapped up. We're going after Nami, the comic relief is coming back, and we're introduced to Arlong. So I was really starting to enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars, and then volume 9 happened. Volume 9 for me was the turning point in One Piece. Now I know why I'm here. Now I know why I started reading One Piece, and I know why it's so popular. We're getting more of the backstory, specifically Nami, and how she kind of ended up in the place that she is. The bonds and the friendships are deepening, and almost at the end of volume 9, I was ready to commit myself to reading One Piece for as long as it's gonna take. I'm here. I'm gonna be a lifelong fan of One Piece. I get it. So if you don't know what the magic of One Piece is about, you have to read at least till volume 9 or volume 10 to kind of grasp why this manga series is so popular in the world. This is it. There's a reason in volume 9 and 10. So please, if you're at the early parts and you're wondering why you're reading this, please push through till you get to volume 10. You will see what this is about. And if you don't like it then you can quit. Alright guys, so these were the 7 books I read in the month of August. Please tell me in the comments if you read any of these books, if these are your favorites, or if you have more recommendations for me. I really appreciate that. As always, thank you for watching today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!